Good morning. Thanks for being here on time. It's 9:15. Let's get started. So, what did you learn about the compartments of the afterlife last time? They exist, right? There are compartments. Well,
we're not invited to some of those places. Thank goodness.
What's that?
We're not invited to some of those places.
Yeah, some of the places you do not want to go to. Hades, Sheol, you don't want to go to. Gehenna, Lake of Fire, definitely not.
It is a Catholic. You didn't go straight to heaven unless you were really, really good.
Right.
You went to purgatory.
Well, in Catholicism, that's still true, right? Nobody really goes to heaven right away.
Your family has to pray and buy your way to heaven.
Yeah, you still go to purgatory. Even in Catholicism, that's still the. So that would be like an entire.
Give me $20 now.
I saw your wallet. I saw you had plenty of cash. Joanne, what were you gonna say?
What I thought was interesting is that I feel like, I don't want to say we as a general, the Western Church are taught that that's something that we had to come to Sunday school class and have someone who, but earlier times that must have been a prevalent thing that people understood.
Yeah, they understood better than us that there's these compartments. And I know, isn't it strange that it's like something that it seems like most Christians don't know. And you're certainly not, I mean, nobody's there, it was new information for me to think, oh, in the Hebrew Bible, everybody expected to go to Sheol. Everybody went there. Good, bad, that's where everybody's going to go. And I don't know about you guys, but as you interact with other Christians, I don't think that's something that most people think at all. It's just a dichotomy, right? It's either you go to hell or you go to heaven. That's it.
Well, the verse says absent with the body, present with the Lord.
Yeah, if you're absent from the body, then you're present with the Lord. Yeah, if you follow Jesus. I mean, because right now, after Jesus, now you do go straight to heaven. You skip Sheol.
Where is that verse?
Yeah, Corinthians. Right, that's New Testament for sure, though. Right. Yeah, so there's that radical shift, right? I mean, that's part of the great news of Jesus.
And that's what we've been taught.
Yeah, that now we go to heaven, which is a holding place. It's not purgatory, but it's a holding place because we're not all going to stay there. Because the ultimate goal is new creation, new heavens, new earth. So to think of heaven as a holding place is not a bad thing. It's just that it's not purgatory. It's not this refining place. You're just in the presence of the Lord, waiting for all of your brothers and sisters to come together at some point so that we can all have our resurrected bodies and get on. It's what N.T. Wright calls life after death.
We go float around on clouds.
Yeah,
we're
gonna talk about angels today. Yes.
Yeah, it definitely cleared up for me why David said, "I'll go to Sheol," and why Jesus even went there.
Okay.
I never really understood, why did he go down? Why did he go?
Okay, good. So it cleared up for you. Yeah, because exactly. David expects to go there. Jacob expects to go there. I mean, people that you're like, these people definitely are heaven, but they're not at the time. So good. I'm glad that cleared up some confusion for you. It does. It makes sense more. You get to these verses and you're like, oh, okay, now these verses make sense. Okay, so our agenda today is talk about angels. There's not so much translation issues here. It's more about how they're described or not described in the Bible, and then how they're depicted in art. And so that has really created this biblical imagination that's really not biblical. But there were reasons. There's definitely reasons why artists make angels with wings, and they often change their gender. Then we'll talk about cherubim and seraphim. And just know that cherubim and seraphim are not angels. They are not. I think what happens is people say that they're angels, and what they mean is they're using the word angel incorrectly, in that they're saying, and what they really mean is a divine being. Because as we'll learn, angels are, right here. The term angel in Hebrew is a functional term. It's a job description for a spiritual messenger. It can mean human messenger too. When humans are messengers in the Hebrew Bible, you could translate it as angel. But of course, we think angel, divine being, so nobody translates it that way. In the Second Temple period and in the New Testament, the term angel is used predominantly to distinguish loyal supernatural beings from evil, rebellious ones. So it does change a bit in the New Testament, but not a lot. Probably, right? Everybody's very familiar with Raphael's little cherubs under there. Those would not be angels, those would be cherubs. And I hope we should have time to talk about why cherubim from the Bible, who are, I think you would probably be very frightened if you came across one of them, how they became little babies like that. Who are the other two figures there? I'm not sure. Well, the two figures, of course, are the Virgin Mary and Jesus. Who are the other two figures? I don't know. It's a good question. I'll look that up. Maybe.
Simeon and Anna, was that her?
Yeah, Simeon and Anna, the prophetess. That's a good guess. Although I know the Anna she was old. Yeah.
Maybe Elizabeth and.
Oh yeah, Elizabeth and
His name.
John. Yeah, her baby. I don't know. This one. This is in the Sistine Chapel. I'll look it up though.
She's too young to be Elizabeth.
Well, that's true too.
Yeah.
She's too.
I don't know. Good question. Okay, I'll look it up. Okay, so angels, I've said this numerous times, never described as having wings in the Bible, in the Hebrew Bible or the New Testament, nor are they ever hybrid creatures in the Bible. They're always just like pretty much humans. In fact, they're always male. And the word angel or angels and men are often interchangeable in the Bible. The three visitors to Abraham, for example, they're described as men in Genesis 18, but then they're angels in Genesis 19:1. And so I was like, oh, and then the two angels. You're like, wait a minute, what? I thought you've been saying men all chapter 18. Then all of a sudden they're angels. And the same thing in the New Testament. Very consistent. The figures at the tomb are angels in Matthew and John, but they're men in Mark and Luke.
But they, okay, back to gender. But they, I don't know how to put it delicately.
Well,
They have male parts.
oh yeah, I mean, yeah. So you can think like, do angels have male sexual organs?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I was thinking about how in Genesis chapter 6, we've talked about this passage many times because it's such a confusing passage, where the sons of God have sex with the daughters of men. Now, they're called sons of God there, but First Enoch makes it clear. Enoch thinks that, well, whoever wrote Enoch, it's not really Enoch. Enoch calls them angels. So these sons of God were able to have sex with human women. So that would indicate that they are able to have sex. Because then the result is the Nephilim. The giant, it says the men of renown, the men of old in Genesis, I think it's 6:4. What are you whispering about? Huh?
Make sure he's getting all this.
Well, but it's relevant when you think about I'm sure some of you guys can think about it. We could go on this rabbit trail right now because I was going to bring it up later. But think about what Jesus says about the angels. Do you guys remember? That he's confronted with a question. He's the Pharisees who's like the Sadducees. They go, this and the author says, and by the way, they don't believe in the resurrection. This is why they were asking the question. He's like, well, what if this guy marries a woman and she dies, And then he marries another woman, she dies, and then she dies, and she dies, and 7 times. And who is he going to be married to in the resurrection? They don't really care about who he. They want to just know, do you believe in the resurrection? And then Jesus just absolutely smashes them. I think it's Matthew 22. I think it's actually in all synoptic gospels, but I know it's in Matthew 22, the second half of it. And he's like, you guys are badly mistaken. He's like, don't you even know the scriptures? Here he is just blasting these guys who absolutely do know the scripture. He's like, don't you know the scriptures? And then he says, people, right, Joanne, what's he say?
He said that you will be like angels in heaven.
You will not, and it's interesting what he says, okay? Because I was really meditating about this yesterday. He says, you will not marry, nor will you be given in marriage. No, you'll be like the angels in heaven. You'll be like, I don't think he says in heaven, actually, does he? Oh, it does. Okay, it does. Okay, angels in heaven. Okay. Which, then that indicates that it's male and female, right? Because that's why he says twice. You will not marry, males. You will not be given in marriage, females. But you'll be like the angels. Well, what does Jesus mean by that? I mean, right? It's debatable for sure. My interpretation would be there is no need for procreation. I don't think Jesus is saying, I don't know, Jesus. I don't think he's saying there's no sex. Maybe there is. But there's no need for procreation. No one's going to have any babies. Why would you don't need to have any babies anymore. No one's dying. Does that make sense?
It almost sounds like it's strictly procreation. That's the only purpose of it. What, I can't remember, I was just trying to find, it wasn't, when the 3 visitors came, and they were out in the desert, I think it was Abraham as well, but it basically, they said, we want sex with men.
Oh, that's the Sodom and Gomorrah story.
He said, no, in fact, he said, I'd rather you take my 5 kids. These are
Oh,
my
okay,
guests.
yeah, good
These
point.
are my guests. So
yeah, that's part of the same.
Angels, and they were requesting.
Yes, yeah, that's a good point. So in the Hebrew Bible, in that story, which it's the same story, right?
It is. I was just
18, 19, yeah, and then they're visiting Lot in Sodom and Gomorrah.
The 118 is when he comes and tells Abram that Sarah's going to have a baby.
Oh, okay, right, okay.
So this is not when they requested. That was the 3 visitors of Genesis.
Okay, so that's a little different. Sorry.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a good point though. So the men of Sodom and Gomorrah, they want to have sex with divine beings. Do they know that they're divine beings? I don't know, but it doesn't seem as if they're not unable to.
Yeah, but what kind of good father say, no, take my virgin?
Oh, no, I know. Well,
they say, yeah, go ahead, just take it.
I mean, that's part of the purpose of that story is to be. I mean, it's terrible what that father does.
Craziness.
No, it's awful, and it makes you recoil. It should make you. You should say, yeah, this place is really bad, and God does need to do something about this because this is horrible. We think of the Bible as this moral lesson, but it's really just the opposite. It's like, look how bad these people are, and just remember, sometimes you're like them too.
Then the daughters, of course, look for their dad and get pregnant.
Yeah,
There you go.
No, I know the story gets
Oh, it
worse.
worse.
I know. Then lots of daughters get him drunk out of his mind, have sex with him, and then they have babies. And that's the
Moabites and the Ammonites.
the Ammonites and the Moabites, right? Which is important to remember because they're going to continue to figure in the Bible stories. So anytime you see those Moabites, and you go, remember these guys, they're bad. They have a bad start. But not only that, but it's like they're related to the Israelites. Same thing with the Edomites. Like they're always fighting with the Edomites, but that's why God's so angry with them. He's like, hey, when the Israelites left Egypt and the Edomites, you guys didn't help them. In fact, you hurt them. You guys are related. Yeah, even closer connection.
All the more reason for the need for Christ.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Amen.
Yes, it's all pointing going, man, there is nobody. There's some people who get really close in small amounts of time. Moses gets pretty close. But it's like nobody can, it's like that psalm, it's early in the psalm. It's like, who can ascend the mountain of God? It's like, well, the list is really short.
Or like the end of the book of Job.
And the book
All
of
those
Job.
questions.
Yeah, like who is gonna can
God
you
asks dozens of questions.
yes, like can you whip Leviathan? Can you do anything about Rahab? No, they're cosmic beasts.
So
I'm the only one.
Do the angels look like people?
Well, clearly the angels must look like, thank you for getting us back on track here. That was quite a rabbit trail. That's okay. In the New Testament, what only seems to be the difference is that now they're shining and they're white. Not all the time, though, because sometimes they definitely seem to be just like people. But early depictions of angels are wingless men. They hold very tightly to the description or lack thereof in the Bible. This is probably one of the first depictions of an angel. And you can see, I mean, it just looks like a person. This is an Annunciation scene in some catacombs in Rome. They're called the Priscilla catacombs. And so that angel's coming to Mary. Very, very, I mean, the Annunciation scene, we'll see more of these. Very common motif in art. Here, okay, so let me ask you, one of these guys is an angel. Which one? This one, you're saying? Why?
Doesn't have a beard.
He doesn't have a beard? Okay, that's good. Cool.
Behind the scenes.
He's kind of comforting the other one.
Yeah, so this is the angel. But, I mean, he just looks like a person, especially in sculpture. How are you going to distinguish angels from people in visual arts? I mean, they look exactly the same. This is a scene, this again, very common scene.
Beautiful.
Very common scene depicted in early Christian art, the sacrifice of Isaac, because it was seen as a resurrection. So the problem with wingless angels is that they're indistinguishable from humans. So after the 4th century, okay, once we get to the 4th century, back on here, and this is way after the 4th century, but it's such a beautiful piece of artwork, I wanted to include it. So starting in the 4th century, angels grew wings and some become female. We'll talk about why, but the legalization and privileging of Christianity created a need for public spaces, public churches, and art for those spaces, right? So you guys probably familiar, right? Constantine becomes a Christian and he makes it the state religion. And so now that it's the state religion, they're going to fund public spaces, churches, and those churches need art. And of course, that art's going to include angels, but you need to be able to distinguish them from humans. This is Raphael.
They allow Christianity and they put some art in it.
Yeah, so now, right, people aren't trying to hide. You know, there wasn't a lot of early Christian art because it was illegal. So that's why you see a lot of it as sarcophagi, and a lot of times, like I mentioned, a lot of times it's the Jonah scene, because then it's like kind of a hidden resurrection idea. Same thing with the sacrifice of Isaac we just saw. It's like, yeah, we believe in resurrection, but we're not going to come right out and say that because we don't want to get state sanctions on us. But after the conversion and Christianity is legal.
Is that artwork behind some sort of cage?
Yeah, this is the liberation of St. Peter. And the angel comes to Peter in the jail.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see, this is a good example. You can hardly see the wings right here. But, you know, Raphael's such a great artist. You know, by this early Renaissance, they don't really need, especially in painting, they don't need to make them with wings. That guy over there is the same angel, but you can see he doesn't have wings at all.
And the woman on the far right?
That's the angel, yeah. It's telling the same, it's telling all parts of the story in one scene. So that's liberating Peter from the jail cell, and then that's the angel directing Peter out of the jail cell. So it's like a continuous narrative all in one scene.
And the two guys on the lower left
Yeah, so those are the Roman soldiers.
who were supposed to guard
Yeah, we're supposed to be guarding it. Yeah, and they're like, "Oh my gosh!" Right? It's the way he uses light in this painting is just incredible. But see, now he doesn't have to rely so much on wings. He can rely on his painterly skill making it look bright. But early on, artists weren't as adept with the materials, and especially in sculpture, how can you make them look bright? Unless you paint the sculpture, but even then. So, winged angels. The inspiration for winged angels, the visuals come from the Greek Roman Nike goddess. This is the Nike of Samothrace, super famous sculpture. Right when you walk into the Louvre, it's right there. The texts, though, there are biblical texts that definitely seem to lend towards an idea of wings, although again, it never says they have wings. Like in Psalm 104, verse 4, he makes winds his messengers, or he makes winds his angels.
Wind?
Winds, yeah.
So like a wind.
Yeah, you could think. Same thing, Gabriel, the man I had seen in the earlier vision, came to me in swift flight. Like, well, if he's flying. And then 1st, 2nd Enoch, they described winged angels. They come right out and say that they do have wings. And again, it's not just to, and it's actually pretty clever of them to make it with wings. Because not only to distinguish them from humans, but it also puts them a little rung lower than Jesus and God. Because then they have an animal appendage. It's like, oh yeah, they need wings. They can't just fly around like Jesus and God can. Jesus and God, of course, they don't need wings. You're never going to see. Well, I shouldn't say never. I shouldn't say they never have wings. I found a painting with Jesus' wings, but it was more like a vision painting. It was weird.
Do you mind if I
Yeah.
read this? This is Psalm 104.
Psalm 104. Okay.
Do you mind if I just read a couple?
Sure.
Okay. Starting in verse 2, covering yourself with light as with a cloak, stretching out heaven like a tent curtain. He lays the beams of his upper chambers in the waters.
Mm-hmm.
He makes clouds his chariot. He walks upon the wings of the wind. He makes
Wings
the
of the wind.
winds
Yeah, the
his
winds.
messengers.
Mm-hmm.
Flaming fire his ministers.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like cherubim. We're going to see cherubim, seraphim to talk right there. Cherubim, they carry the throne of God on a chariot, and then seraphim are fiery. So they're not mentioning angels, cherubim, and seraphim by name, but that's definitely what's going on in that passage. So this is the first text describing angels with wings is 1 Enoch 61:1. It's the only time that it says it in 1 Enoch, but it does say, and they, angels, took to themselves wings and flew. That's Archangel Michael.
Michael and Gabriel,
Michael and Gabriel are the only two named angels in the canonical Bible, and they're hardly mentioned at all, by the way. They're only mentioned in Daniel, Luke, and then Michael's mentioned in Jude and Revelation. So they're not, but they are. It is consistent from Hebrew Bible to New Testament. The only other one that's named is Raphael in Tobit, which is in the Deuterocanon. So there's a third one. 1 Enoch's got a whole list of named angels, a whole bunch of them. Okay, so angels become women. Not all the time, but a lot of times. So the lack of winged Greek Roman males led artists to use Nike, like we saw a couple slides ago, the female goddess and other winged divine beings as the models. But the visual female angels fused with textual male angels to create a genderless being, which is what artists wanted. They want to make them genderless because of what Jesus says, like that passage we just talked about. In this way, if they're genderless, they're more divine. The only male model, the only male Greek Roman model that has wings is Icarus and his dad, Daedalus, which is not a good story. Right? Icarus flew too close to the sun, melted the wings off his back, and he fell.
Yeah, and they were man-made. I mean, he made the wings.
Yeah, he made the wings, right. But that's the only model they have. So like, well, we can't, it's not a very good story. We can't relate divine angels that are supposed to be good to these guys. But Nike's a lot better. She's a goddess. So that makes sense, right? Angels are divine. She's a goddess.
Are archangels another level?
Archangels seem to be another level. Yeah. I mean, that's how.
Elevated level?
I know that's how Michael is described in Revelation. I don't know if Gabriel's ever mentioned as an archangel. Really, you think about Gabriel, he's acting like an angel, kind of, because he's always the messenger. He's the one who's at the Annunciation, telling Mary. So he actually is probably acting more like he's probably just an angel. I mean, there seems to be some kind of hierarchy in the divine realm, but parsing that out.
Well, in the Catholic Church, there's a lot of guardian angels. We all have a guardian
Mhm.
angel. who
Guardian
guards
angels?
us and watches over us.
Right. There's guardian
Anyone here
angels.
Has anyone here ever had an experience where maybe that was an angel who came to me and helped me and disappeared?
You're asking. I'm just saying it for the video. Have you ever had an experience with what's probably an angel? Lots of people are.
Yeah.
I have too, for sure. I mean, maybe not at the time, but
You usually show up when I've been drinking too much.
they usually show up when I'm in trouble.
This is a book I got shortly after Nick was born, and it's called Angel Behind the Rocking Chair. And it's actually about a little Down syndrome
Oh,
child who,
the angel behind the rocking chair.
yeah,
Oh,
who sees this angel.
Huh.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we could probably spend the rest of the
Yeah.
time talking about angel stories. Well, we can maybe after class real quick. So the first, at least it seems like the first winged angels in art, again, sarcophagus, 4th century. So this is, after Constantine has made Christianity legal. So now it's okay to put a big cross on your sarcophagus and say, I'm a Christian. But clearly winged angels. It's hard to tell, and you're going to see this often. It's often hard to tell that the angels are male or female.
Well, they look female.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of look female. They look young boys. But again, they do that for 2 reasons. They want to make them genderless, so that
I know, it does.
it's not clear, like they don't really have a gender.
Yes, it is.
Does that make
I mean,
sense?
That kind of fits into what's going on today, androgynous. and
Yes.
Beautiful look.
Androgynous, beautiful look, yeah. And it was in Greek and Roman art too, like a young male. We'll see another one in just
Or they don't want to identify, obviously, as a female and a male.
right.
So what are they identifying as?
Yeah, so it's like genderless, right? In this case, they're doing it because they want to show that this creature is divine. It's not human. Although, as we've talked about, I don't know if divine beings have genders or not.
Well, today, if we do an nativity scene, it's like the shepherds, wise men are men, and the angels are almost always.
Yeah,
girls.
yeah. And that might be part of the reason, right? We have those nativity scenes where you have the shepherds or the 3 wise men, and then that's contrasted with
You gotta have
the
two
female
girls.
angels, right? Otherwise, it's a lot of testosterone.
Third grade girls were always the angels.
The girls are always the angels in little
The
plays. Yeah,
women are more beautiful than the men.
I agree
I'm just
with that.
saying.
Yes, I would totally agree. Women,
Yeah, and in nature and everything else, the male is always more beautiful. Look
But
at the
not-
birds, the cardinal. I mean, all of them,
Yeah.
the male is always more beautiful, except for the human race.
I totally agree.
God made the human race.
I totally agree. Women are far more, in general, far more attractive than men. Yeah,
Well, they wouldn't need sexual parts because they're not going to reproduce.
they don't. Yeah, I mean, I guess divine beings don't need them, but at least some of them seem to have them, or in the past they did. This is an interesting one because this is you notice the bearded guy, but there are sometimes bearded angels, and that's one of them. It's hard to find images of them, but every now and then there are. That bearded angel pretty much disappears after the 5th century. Hardly comes up at all. Another one, panel with winged figures. I put it up here. I mean, it's really hard to tell if these are male or female.
Encaustic?
Encaustic is painting in with wax. It's colored wax.
Don't hang it in the sun.
Yeah, don't put it in the sun, right? Another one, right? This is another ivory. We're moving up in time, 890. Again, it's hard to tell if those are males or females, but clearly winged.
Oh, they're with Christ on the cross.
Yeah, flying around Jesus as he's hanging on the cross there. There's one down there too. I didn't put a detail of that one, but they all seem to have wings. Another one, 5th century. These definitely look more like males. Yeah, they put the halo. That's another real clear signifier that these beings are divine.
Would that go back perhaps to Moses when he comes down from the mountain?
Oh, with the divine halo, would that go back to Moses? Like, yeah, sure, it could. I mean, I think that's part of the point that he's shining, is that he's like almost semi-divine now.
And Stephen, you see that was.
Oh, you're right.
We discovered that.
Okay, you see that with Stephen. He's shining. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Sanhedrin, they all see that.
Yeah.
He's radiant.
Yeah.
His face is like the face of an angel.
Oh, yeah, right. It says his face is like the face of an angel, and they mean because it's shining. Yeah, good point. Another Annunciation scene. I told you we'll see a bunch of these Annunciation scenes. Again, hard to tell if it's like is that a male or female, but definitely nice wings. And that definitely would be Gabriel because it's an Annunciation scene. This one's really beautiful. Since Gabriel is one of the few named angels, he gets these really. Well, you can tell, right? That's tough to tell. I mean, it looks a lot more female in our culture than male. But we know Gabriel's a male's name. But again, here, females, definitely females. They got little teeny wings, but there they are. We're definitely moving up in time, 15th century now. Now, here's a good one to look at. That's the angel, which is definitely a dude. But then there's also the cherubs. So there is a difference in visuals between angels and cherubs. And sometimes the cherubs they're just little baby heads with wings.
How did they come about?
We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about how did these little babies become cherubs when we get to cherubs. Angels have stayed very popular in art. Yeah. This is, again, it's hard to tell if it's male or female. It is a female because the artist used his daughter as his daughter as the model. All the way up 1937, 1938, Marc Chagall. I'm so disappointed in myself. This is the first time we've looked at a Marc Chagall in this class. He was a Russian Jew. Did a lot of, You know what he's not well known for is his stained glass, but he did tons of stained glass designs, really beautiful stuff. It's a little strange. Have you ever seen the guy with the long neck and he's kissing the woman? Have you ever seen that painting? No? Okay. Well, that's a Chagall.
Well, his work was quite,
It's a little surreal,
yeah.
but not Dali level. 1989, Keith Haring.
He was angry.
It looks like he's like very recognizable style, Keith Haring. This is his work is making a big comeback. You see it on T-shirts a lot. Just real quick, I threw in some St. Michael's. You'll see Michael. This is very common, where he is slaying the dragon, because that's what he does in Revelation. And sometimes he's got some helpers, which again that would be biblical because it says Michael and some other angels are fighting the dragon. But very common theme, very, very common to see Michael slaying a dragon. Okay, cherubim and seraphim. This is not stained glass, but it was a stained glass design by a British artist. I don't think these were ever realized. Not that long ago. Cherubim and seraphim, you ready? So, seraphim. We're going to do seraphim first because they're a little easier to tackle. Actually, the word seraphim only appears 2 times in the Hebrew Bible. And they're both in Isaiah 6. And they're described with 6 wings. 2 cover the face, 2 cover the feet, and 2 fly. You'll see that very often in artwork. But the singular seraph is often translated as serpent. We've talked about this passage several weeks ago. Numbers 21:6. There it's translated as fiery serpents. Septuagint translates it as snakes. Vulgate translates it as serpents. Isaiah 30, flying fiery serpents, which is that's exactly what seraphim are. Flying asps in the Septuagint. Vulgate is Regulus volans, flying snake. But check out what the DRA does. Flying basilisks. There's our basilisk again.
Well, it seems like your first point there,
Uh-huh.
with the 6 wings, those are good angels.
The seraphim, are they good angels? They're scary.
What is the 6-winged creature that appears in Revelation?
Those, well, we'll get there. We're going to get there. Those are living beings. We're going to get there. But cherubim and seraphim always have wings.
What's on the top of the Ark of the Covenant?
Cherubim on top of the Ark. Yeah, and when we get there, we'll talk about. There's a very good reason why they're there. Yeah, but so seraphim, according to the Bible, if you put the pieces together, it's a winged snake. It's winged snakes. In fact, one scholar I read said he identifies it as the Nubian spitting cobra. He got pretty specific. So this was really interesting. So this is a seal, Ahaz, King Ahaz, from the Bible, right? 742, 726 BCE. This thing is old. This is a picture of it, but this is the same thing. It's just a drawing. And you can see he's got seraphim on these little seals. These things are small, okay? These little seals, right? You would stamp it on a letter so you know it's from his cabinet. He's got the seraphim there. They're called uraei or uraeus, but it's seraphim. They don't seem to have wings on this one, but very common for seraphim to be on these little seals. Here's in one where the Stampa seal, Chalcedony, that's what it's made of. You can see it definitely looks like a little snake with wings. Like you can see it kind of looks like it's coiled up right there. The scholar I read, he says the evidence points to that this thing is Hebraic, but then he's like, no, but I don't think it is. But then he doesn't give me a reason. Like, thanks a lot. It's at the British Museum. Okay, so, right, that's what you're going to see what seraphim look like a lot often. God surrounded by seraphim. So whenever you see, especially with the red wings, and we'll talk about the colors in a minute, they're seraphim. This one, we get back to Moses again. And check out, he's got the horns. The brazen serpent. Well, the brazen serpent is a seraph. In the Hebrew, it's seraph. But here he does not look much like a seraph. He actually kind of looks like a basilisk or a cockatrice. But it's a German, so I don't know what happened with these words going into the German. I can't read German. Very often you'll see, the brazen serpent story with paintings, which was a pretty popular motif. It's just a snake on a pole. We saw this piece of artwork weeks ago, though. Weeks ago. This thing's humongous. It's at the Met. But this would be a really good depiction of a seraph. I mean, it needs 2 more sets of wings, but a snake with wings, that's what a seraph is. At least biblically described as. And for the most part, art holds to that. Keeps the 6-wing thing going. Now, cherubim, on the other hand, okay, this is a little more complicated. Cherubim appear in the Bible way more than seraphim, right? Seraphim only twice, cherubim like over 50 times. But cherubs have 3 roles in the Bible: to guard the sacred from the profane. That's why they're on the Ark of the Covenant. That's why God stations 2 of them from the garden. They protect the sacred from the profane. They also draw the chariot of God in Psalm 18. And we'll see a throne to serve as the throne of God in his temple. And that was not just a Hebrew idea. We're going to see a piece of artwork in a couple slides that shows that they made this big throne, and on the sides of the throne are cherubim. So according to, so old pieces of artwork, this Israelite seal, 8th century BC, so really, really old, they often look like griffins, what we would describe as a griffin. Lion, eagle, hybrid with wings. That's what a cherubim is usually depicted as in super old artworks.
They seem like good guys.
The cherubim, yeah, again, I wouldn't want to encounter one of them.
But it'd be an important job.
Yes, yeah, really important job. Mm-hmm. And again, I mentioned the griffin and the seraphim, they are by far the 2 most prominent animal hybrid creatures on these stamp seals. There's hundreds of these stamp seals they found all throughout Palestine. There's other things, but by far and away, most of them have a griffin or a seraphim. This one's interesting too, because this is a cherubim chariot, right? See, you can see it looks kind of like maybe not a lion, it looks more like a bull because it's got hooves. But of course it has wings, it even kind of has a human figure here, but a human face. This is a cherubim chariot. This is from a detail on a plate that's made of bronze. It's Phoenician, but that's important because Solomon employed Phoenicians in the construction of his temple right around 960 BCE. And of course, the first temple had cherubim in it, like as part of the decorations, not just on the Ark of the Covenant. And who knows whatever happened to the Ark of the Covenant by then anyway. Definitely not going down that rabbit trail. Okay, so like here's a big throne. This is Astarte's throne. It's it's old, so it's kind of beat up, but you can see the animal with it's got like the lion tail here and then a big wing. And of course the head has probably been broken off. But that's on both sides of this big, huge throne stone thing are cherubim. And we know that because it's inscribed on the stone. This is the cherubim throne. Throne of the cherubim, that's what it says. Eshmun Temple in Sidon, Lebanon. That's where this is located. Now, okay, so this is where it gets a little more confusing. Ezekiel's cherubim. So Ezekiel 10 is where we come across Ezekiel's cherubim. And the context of Ezekiel 10 is really an expansion of Ezekiel chapter 1. You maybe haven't read Ezekiel in a while. The very first, it just comes right out of the gate. Ezekiel's in exile. He's sitting by the river Chebar. It's his 30th birthday. He's a priest. This is the day that he is supposed to start his priesthood. But he can't. He's in exile. But he has this crazy vision. And then Ezekiel 10 picks it up. And what we should know right away is the Hebrew word demut, which is translated as likeness of, resembling something. It only appears 21 times in the Hebrew Bible, 12 times in Ezekiel, and predominantly in Ezekiel 1 and Ezekiel 10. So whatever Ezekiel says, whatever he sees, he's trying to describe it the best he can. Here's your 4 living beings. He sees 4 living beings. Each has 4 faces. An ox or a calf, depending on how you translate it, a lion, a man, and an eagle. Each has 4 wings. So maybe Ezekiel doesn't see the other set, I don't know. With human hands under the wings, and then straight legs with calves' hooves.
Are those the same 4 creatures in Daniel and in Revelation?
Are these the same 4 creatures? Ezekiel 1 and Revelation 4 reveal slight differences and do not mention cherub or cherubim, but living beings. But are the living beings and the cherubim the same? Probably. Most likely. They're very similar. There are slight differences. Revelation 4 beings have 4 distinct animals and 6 wings. So Ezekiel, he sees these creatures that each one has 4 faces, right? But in the Revelation, it's 4, each one has 1 animal face. It's the same animals. So it's like, oh, they're so close. Maybe they're the same. And you'll see this in artwork, 5th, 6th century. So old, you got the lion, you got the man, you got the eagle, and then ox. So those would be like the living beings. You'll see that quite a bit in art. However, the cherubim and seraphim transformed quite a bit. Here's 1370, 1371. So those are the seraphim because they're red. And they're red because, remember, seraphs are supposed to be fiery. So then, to contrast with that, they make cherubim blue. And then these are the angels, which definitely look like women.
And they all have wings.
They all have wings. It's just that the angels have punier wings. They've got these big, nice. And this was a common motif. I didn't show you this whole piece of artwork. It's, oof. But yeah, they make these little babies, but that's seraphim and cherubim because of the color. This is really weird artwork. Oh, well, no, if I showed you the whole piece of artwork, you definitely would not want it hanging in your house. Like, wow. Okay, so why are cherubs babies? So during the Renaissance, cherubs morphed into what are called putti. Okay, putti. Those are little babies with wings. The putti. That's really the correct term. Puto would be a singular. This is Eros sleeping bronze, really beautiful bronze. 3rd, 2nd century BCE, so this is super old, right? Before Christianity. So there's already this idea of babies with wings.
It looks like that arm is out of proportion.
Looks like, oh yeah, because it's. I thought about putting some, because they had, this is from the Met. They have other angles that you can see it on their website, like the back of it, and it definitely has wings. But I was like, I can't fit it in there. So winged babies. Or I should have put it the other way around. Cherubim to winged babies. Babies with wings derive from Eros Cupid in Greek Roman mythology, right? We just saw that. The second temple, now this is important. This was really interesting. The second temple did not include these decorations of the cherubim, or at least it does not record that in that second temple that was built when they returned from exile, it doesn't record, it's way less detailed than the first temple. And it seems as if there are no decorations at all. So the scholar probably didn't include cherubim. Well, so what do they look like now? Well, they've lost a lot of their visuals because they've been in exile. Now, again, the Jewish philosopher Philo, who's contemporary with Jesus, he allegorizes cherubim, describing them as, quote, the winged and heavenly love of our God. But Philo used the Greek word eros for love. So therefore, if cherubim are winged love, it's an easy leap to depict them as the Greek god Eros. Does that make sense?
So the fact that cherubs are in the Bible comes from.
I mean, cherubs are in the Bible. Cherub is the singular of cherubim.
So did someone like Philo borrow from the Bible?
No,
Or is it the other way around?
I'm sure it's the other way around. He's not borrowing from the Bible. I mean, the New Testament's not even written. Yeah. It's being written here. Does he have access to the Septuagint? I don't know. That'd be a good question. I don't know if he would have read it. I mean, probably. He's a Jewish philosopher. But that's a good question. Yeah, I wonder which way does it go around? I get the impression that it goes from Philo to now, okay, he's using this word eros as talking about winged love. Well, there's already a visual of winged love in Greek Roman mythology. It's that. And so then they, in artworks, yeah, this is, they'll put all these these guys actually don't even have wings, but they are cherubs because they're little babies. Notice the satyr. You see it?
That is complicated.
Yeah, really beautiful. These sarcophagi are amazing. Cam saw a whole bunch of them at the Vatican, right? There's a bunch of them there. This one is at the Met. So, okay, now here, let's see. Oh, yeah, we got time. Donatello, okay? Donatello, this is beginning Renaissance. Donatello is a major figure that kicks off the Renaissance. He starts using these putti in his artwork. They had kind of fallen off the wayside. Artists really weren't using them a lot. He reignites this interest in putti. So this is a puto, because it's one, with a tambourine. Now, however, this is what he does. That's his statue. This is Donatello's statue of David. At the bottom there is Goliath's head. So he's got his foot on Goliath's head. This is so fascinating. On Goliath's helmet, okay, so right there on Goliath's helmet, he's got this whole chariot scene with little putti all over the place carrying a throne. So Donatello's fusion of putti with an obvious Christian symbol.
That looks like a chariot, Andrew.
Yeah, is that what I said? Chariot, right? I said chariot?
You said throne.
Well, it's like a chariot throne. Yeah, because there's a guy up on a throne there. So it's like a chariot throne, like you just read in that psalm. And so his fusing of putti with obvious Christian symbolism, this opened the door for Christians going, oh, we can use these little putti as angels. It started, and then they go off with it, man. I mean, they just take off with little cherubs, which are really putti, and infuse them with angels, his artwork gave license to using this Greek Roman mythological creature in Christian art. And again, Annunciation scenes, super popular. Oh my gosh. 1672. But you can see they make a clear distinction between angels and cherubs. Any questions?
Do you think cherubs really existed?
Do I think cherubs
Or is it some
actually
myth?
existed? No. I think it's great. It's based off Greek Roman mythology. You know, Eros as this winged little baby of love. Philo makes this connection with Eros, the winged love of God. That allows them to use Eros in Christian artwork. Kind of falls to, it seems like these putti kind of fall to the wayside. They're not being used as much in art, but then Donatello's reusing putti, especially in a Christian symbol, made it legitimate to use them again in art.
Then it evolves into Cupid.
Well, Cupid is Eros. Eros is the Greek, and then Cupid is the Roman name for it.
So Philos is a seraphim, not a cherub.
What's that?
Philos, the word you just were using.
Which one?
The putti, I'm so sorry.
Oh,
They are seraphim.
the putti are just flying babies. Seraphim are, yeah, okay, I'll try to read. Seraphim are six-winged creatures. According to the Bible, they seem to be flying snakes. But they don't get portrayed that way all the time. We saw that, it's got the wing. And then the cherubim, early artworks made them look like kind of griffins. But then they morph into putti. We call them cherubim, but really, we're just using the wrong word. We should call them putti, a singular puto.
It's just because when they talk about it in Genesis 3, basically, and he drove out the man and placed on the east side of the garden the cherubim and a flaming sword flashing back and forth. You just don't picture these little.
No, I know. But that's how, there's a serious disconnect from the way cherubim are described in the Bible to what we think of as cherubim. Yeah. Does that make sense then? Okay. Serious disconnect. But it's this convoluted, nuanced progression to get them to this point where artists feel like they can use this Greek Roman little baby as cherubs. Okay. I think, time to stop. It's 10:15. Bibliography for this section. We're done with this section. Next week, this is going to be fun. We're going to switch the argument around because we're going to talk about how visual arts have impacted the biblical imagination. We've, all along we've been talking about how Bible translation decisions impact art. Now we're going to flip the other way around. How art has impacted people's biblical imagination. And it's impacted them a lot more than you think. Probably impacted yours. Much like the cherubs, right? Yes. And we've already seen a lot of examples. Much like the cherubs, we think of little cherubim as these cute little babies, but that's not the biblical description of them at all. All right, thanks for coming. Next week, last week. Yes, but next week will be fun because we'll look at a lot of artwork and talk about